today we are going to be talking about how to perform a proper squat. Now, I know that some of you have taken probably fitness classes before, or you've seen how to do a squat maybe on the internet or in a video, but looking like you're doing the correct squat and actually doing a proper correct squat are two different things. So today we're going to break some of that down, and we're going to kind of cover from all of your joints how to take some of the pressure out of your knees and your lower back when you're squatting. Okay, so first of all, let's talk about, there's two different types of squats that will help correct any muscle imbalances that you might have during your squat. So if you're a runner, a biker, if you sit at a desk all day, any kind of overactive or really tight muscles in your lower body from all of those activities, walking included, you're going to want to squat to counterbalance that, okay? So, the first type of squat is kind of a close foot stance where your heels and your ankles are underneath your hips. So your hips, your knees, and your ankles and your toes are all lined up in one straight line, okay? So you always want to keep the line, your chain, coming from your hips into a straight line, okay? You always want your lower body to be in that line. Now, no matter if it's a wide leg squat or you're parallel. So we're going to work on our feet parallel first. The biggest problem that most people have is their ankle mobility. And this affects the knees and it affects your lower back as well. So, the research that's been done is that most people are afraid that when they push their knees too far forward in a squat, it's going to put excess pressure and force on the knee joint. And so getting the knee to go over the toe, a lot of people are afraid to do that. What actually happens is there is a little bit more force on the knee joint, but you end up compensating for all the reduced force that you take off the knees when you move your knees back in a squat. You're actually putting a lot of pressure on your lower back. So let me show you. If your feet are parallel and you're squatting down and your knees are forward like normal, your upper body can sit upright and your spine is stacked the correct way. Okay? If you all of a sudden move your knees back, now your body is forced to hinge over itself and your butt sticks out. This causes your back to arch a lot right here. It's got a lot of low back arch, puts a lot of pressure on your lumbar, and it also causes your knees to cave inward usually. So your knees will start to pull in together. Okay? So to fix this problem, what we need to do is loosen up your ankles. So you have to do a calf stretch. Make sure that you're stretching the calves and ankles, and also make sure that your toes aren't turning out when you squat. A lot of people that have this imbalance, their toes turn out and then their knees fall in, okay? So if your squats look like this, I'm over exaggerating a little, yours probably won't look so bad, but try your squats barefoot and see how you feel. If you feel like the toes are turning out and the knees are caving in or the inner thighs are pulling, you're going to want to stretch out your inner thighs. This does often happen because the calves and your ankles are so tight, so we really want to work and focus on loosening up the calves and ankles first. That's going to correct a lot of these other problems, okay? So I want you to really focus on pulling your knees forward, working those shins. Use those shin muscles. They rarely ever get used in our day-to-day life. Use those shin muscles to pull your knees forward and keep your chest and your core tight without arching your back. A lot of people will, keep their chest up not by getting the proper squat form and kind of sinking down. What they end up doing is, like we just said, pulling the knees back, sticking their butt out. They're now having to lean forward, so to compensate, they're arching their back. And then they're squatting like this. And if you have a barbell, that's even more pressure on your spine if you're doing weighted squats. Okay, so I wanted to go through this tutorial so that you know what you're feeling and when you should feel it. What I want you to do is, for a proper squat, put your feet parallel to each other. Like we said, toes, ankles, knees, hips, all stacked up and lined up. Okay, so you're coming down into your squat, you're pulling the knees forward by squeezing the shins. Really activate those shins, sink your butt down as low as you can, and squeeze those butt muscles. What a lot of people forget to do is they forget that they're working on the way down. A lot of people don't squeeze anything until they have to stand up from a squat. And what you're doing is you're letting all of your tight muscles that shouldn't be working, they're compensating and they're squeezing together to keep you from falling to the ground. So what you want to do is activate your butt muscles, squeeze those right before you even come down into your squat. Squeeze your shins, squeeze your butt, keep your core nice and tight, keep your back from arching, pull it in, then squat down so that you're nice and tall. Stand back up. Okay? Now, the second type of squat, if you don't have any knee issues currently, that's a good squat to work on your posture, work on your knee alignment, your ankle, your joint, all of your joints, and strengthen the knees without going below 90-degree bend in the knee. Okay, so you're just going till your butt's parallel with the floor and your knee is about 90 degrees bent. The second type of squat is going to be a little bit wider. You're going to go lower than 90 degrees, and this is going to help you to open up the hips. If you are not sure about your knees being able to handle this yet, don't go there yet. Start with the first squat. Okay, so if you're ready for a deeper squat, you're going to bring your feet just wider than your hips. So if I am lining myself up properly, my hip bones are here, so my heels are starting just outside of my hip bones, and then my toes are slightly turning out. Now I still want to have my chain lined up, just like we talked about in the first squat. So from my hip, my knee, my ankle, and my toes are all pointing in the same line. This is where a ton of people mess up. I see fitness professionals do this all the time. They'll perform a squat, but their knees are caving in and they're not fixing the, it's when the hips and the inner thighs get so tight that the knees cave inward, just like we talked about before. So when you're doing a wide-legged squat and you come down, make sure that those knees, look at if I put my hands down right here, my knees, my toes, and my hips all in one line. Stand back up, they stay in one line. Now you can check this. Let me grab a prop really quick. You can check this at your, the gym or at home, anything where you maybe have like a broom or a PVC pipe. I know some gyms actually are getting PVC pipes in to help people with their form on different activities. So if you have that available, otherwise just use a broomstick while you're at home and you can check it. Okay, so we're gonna get into our squat stance, wide-legged squat stance, and we're gonna put the PVC pipe right on the inside of the ball of our foot. Okay, so it's gonna go right on the inside of the ball of the foot, and when you squat down to do your squat, you want your knees to come right outside of that PVC pipe. Gina and I used to do this together all the time at the gym. So if you have a buddy or your significant other, have them hold the PVC pipe for you while you're bringing your arms out straight, or you have your arms behind your head, and see if you can do it the correct way without your knee knocking into that PVC pipe. Okay, so that's a really good way to check and see if your knees are caving in. And if they are, work on pulling those knees out wide as you possibly can the whole way down. The wider you pull those knees, the tighter your butt muscles are going to squeeze and the more support you're going to give your core in that squat. So let me show you the incorrect way first. When you have your toes out, your knees cave in, you're squatting. Now when you're going below 90, if you're keeping your chest up, let's just bring my hands behind my head, pretend like I have a bar up there. Okay, you're squatting down. Now I'm falling forward. My knees are caving in. This really hurts. It's no wonder why people hate doing squats. And then you stand back up. Okay, a lot of pressure on the fronts of the knees, the insides of the knees, and a lot of pressure on the back because you're not sitting up properly. You have no core and lumbar support, so you start caving forward and then you start looking at the floor. Everything's downhill from there. Okay, so the right way to do this, turn your knees out, toes out, everything out, hands upright, chest up, core nice and tight. So you want to pull your belly button in instead of let it flop forward and let your back arch when you're doing your squat. So tuck your belly button in, squeeze your glutes on the way down to support you in that squat, chest up high, pull those knees out the whole way down, chest up, butt down, and then stand up. Okay?